guys, welcome to Sunrise Extra. Happy Friday, everybody. Hey, we have some very special guests in studio with us today. Besides Drew, there he is. Special. He's sitting next to me.
Not that special.
Audrey and Jeremy Roloff, of course, from Little People, Big World. You guys are not on this current season that just debuted this month.
I like to say we may have quit the show. We didn't quit our family.
No.
That is,
Still
I mean, honestly,
go to the family.
That's the first thing people jump to, right? Oh, they must be some kind of problem.
Probably some huge thing. It's like, no, we decided to go do some other stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I like that. So kind of, we talked about this on the show, but kind of tell me, I mean, you have a daughter now, you're busy, you just decided like we need to take a break and just have some family time without the TV cameras around us, right?
I would not say that we took a break.
Yeah.
I would say that we turned away and ramped up the other things we were doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we have a podcast, clothing line, writing books, like just lots of different things going on.
Yeah.
So, and then having a 19-month-old daughter. So it was just, and Jeremy, says it was just time for him. Like he'd done that for a long time.
Yeah. Since what, you were 13?
I was 13 or 14 when it all started, but I feel like I was equipped really well, and at some point I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go get to work with the tool belt I've assembled, and we have a lot of, again, our passion for relationships, and ultimately we like to say we create tools and resources for people to live more intentional lives.
Yeah.
And so we do that many ways, and so we just are having a lot of fun exploring those.
You guys are busy. You wrote a book.
Yeah.
We wrote a book.
Yes.
It's actually New York Times
bestseller.
bestseller.
We just heard that news. That's
Yeah.
huge, you guys.
So we're pretty excited.
Jeremy, your hair looks a lot different.
It is, yes. Experiment over.
It's
Time to
lighter
cut
now.
it.
It's
Experiment
not as
over.
heavy.
Yeah.
So
it's so lighter.
this is what he looked like when I met him.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like nostalgic and going back to like when we first met, because this is what he looked like.
Do you prefer the shorter?
I love the curls, but I love it both ways. I wouldn't
The
say I
curls are
like one
fun,
more than the
but
other.
honestly, like
think
with
the change is
this
fun.
whole book tour coming up, for me, I was like, the last thing I want to think about is my hair. I want to cut it and just get it. Just wake up.
To why? Yeah. Can you go back to that, Nina? Can you show that book cover
Yeah.
again? Because I did see that, Jeremy, and I guess I hadn't seen you in a while. I hadn't seen this. I go, man, what's he doing with his hair?
Yeah.
And I was all ready to talk about it. Then you walked in the studio. I was like, man, this guy's clean shaven and clean cut. Ready to go. We do have a little more time, which is nice, because
We do,
on the TV segment, we get like 3 minutes and it's 3 questions. Now we can talk at ease a little bit.
Awesome.
Yes, I love it.
I want to know.
We like IG Lives.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just have one question,
Go
Nina.
ahead.
Can I ask one question?
I'll get mine in later. Okay, go ahead.
13 years old is what you were when the show started.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, was there a time when you go, I would like these cameras to get out of my house. I'd like them to get out of my house now. I want to be done with this. Or did you enjoy that experience?
Yeah. I mean, of course, there was times. I mean, there were times where you're like, wow, I just need some space. Thankfully, I had 110 acres to go.
Yeah, no kidding.
That space.
So I'd go find my space. But yeah, of course. I mean, I think there's times people want to go home from work. There were times we wanted to get away from the cameras. Yeah. But on the for the most part, we had a really respectful crew every single year. There are people in our house all day. You have to like them, and we did, and so we got along really well and pretty respectful. But
surprisingly to me, Audrey, you grew up in the area. You went to Sunset High School. I'm thinking, oh, this woman was watching the show. She's checking that guy out. She's saying, that's my future husband. You never saw the show, though.
No, so I knew of the show, of course, but I'd never seen an episode until we basically started dating. We watched like one of the first episodes ever, just for fun.
I was like,
Jared was like,
I was like, oh.
He had like the afro 12-year-old.
It was like cringing.
It's like watching like a professional home video. So yeah, it was really. And then I wasn't really my first exposure to the
was
TV
really
show
the wedding.
I went to Costa Rica with their family, and that was filmed, and that was my first exposure.
We tell that whole story in the book of like the Costa Rica story.
Yeah, that was a wild experience.
Then the wedding was the first like big thing that you were involved in.
I cannot imagine. I mean, you're planning a wedding is like stressful. What's everyone gonna think? How the picture's gonna turn out? But then like it's on freaking TV.
Yeah,
that's got to be even like
the decision to. We almost didn't do it.
We tell that whole story in the book too, just that decision to do it or not.
Yeah.
And
how much of that decision was yours?
Well, a lot. We
wanted it to be ours. Like we didn't
decision.
want it to be something where Jeremy pushed for filming it, and then later I held that over his head, or vice versa. I pushed for not.
We had to be.
We knew we had to be aligned.
Aligned in that.
So we processed it a lot.
No blaming afterwards, no matter how it turns out. It turned out really well, and we're glad we did it. But
why did you decide to do it?
So that's a good question. So we ultimately, I think, just decided it has been. For me, it was kind of a personal like wrapping up of my 15 years on the show. It's kind of a cool way to like end it, if you will, or like get to that point, And I felt almost this weird like obligation, if you will, to like the loyalty of the fans. It's like if I leave them out of it, this is kind of a weird, like a weird dynamic to have.
Personal between you two and your family, but
Yeah.
then also, I mean,
And then-
everyone else kind of considers you family
Right.
as
Yeah,
well.
and then
And we kind of
ultimately
made-
we just wanted to share our story. Like we
Yeah.
just really we felt like wow, like this is a huge opportunity to bring people into our love story, and
Yeah.
and it really kind of set us up in a good spot. And like I said earlier, this book's really the story that was never told leading up to the wedding. So.
I like the fact, again, if you guys are just tuning in, we're talking with Jeremy and Audrey Roloff from Little People, Big World. They're not on the show anymore. They've just written a book. It's on the New York Times bestseller list. They're talking with us live in studio here. You guys met on a blind date, and
Yeah.
what is, so for people who are, out there on like Match, could you guys have ever done like Match.com? or
No, we
anything like
haven't.
that?
Yeah.
We haven't. We were young.
I
We
don't
met when we were
recommend doing it
19,
now, by
though,
the way.
so
Yeah,
it was
I
like
know.
we weren't in that.
But blind
I don't
date,
know.
had you guys ever
Never
been
done
on
a
a
blind
Neither of us
date
had ever
before.
been on a blind
Yeah.
date.
I
And we
think-
were set up
I think
by
blind
mutual
dates-
friends that we trusted, though.
I think blind dates are fun if, for us, it was two good friends
Yeah.
that we knew
That's the only reason
had
we did
good
it.
intentions, and said, like, you guys should probably meet.
Were you out with those friends on the first date, or completely
We were out with those
We were
friends.
out with those
Even
friends,
better.
double date. Yeah, so it was just like a good, healthy environment, I guess, if you will. But yeah, the subtitle of the book is Pursue Creatively, Date Intentionally, Love Faithfully. And so we were pretty intentional about it, and we believe those are core principles that whether you're dating, engaged, married, you want an intentional love story, you want a creative love story, and ultimately a faithful one.
I need more definitions, please, because I understand loving faithfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
Pursue creatively, I understand that. But when you said date intentionally, what the
Yeah.
heck does that mean?
Oh man,
I
so
think.
go on, yeah.
I just think a lot of our generation is so spontaneous and flippant and organic. Like, let's just see what happens, And dating with intention is kind of, an old school thing.
Almost counterculture
Because,
now,
I don't know how old you are, but our parents' generation, they didn't really have to think about being intentional. They were more forced into it. They didn't have the technology that we did. They didn't have the convenience that we did. And so now, we just are passionate about helping our generation get back to being intentional, putting down your phone, writing a handwritten letter, doing the things that
Yeah.
our generations before us just had to do because they didn't have another
Yeah.
way.
Right.
You
But
know?
in your book,
And-
you describe Audrey saying at one point you were like, I'm not going to date anyone if I can't see marrying them,
Yes.
But then you were like, well, that doesn't really make sense because how
Yeah.
are you going to know?
Right.
Yeah, if you
wanna
don't
marry
date
them
her.
if you
Totally.
don't date?
Yes.
Totally, and that was something she wrestled through.
Yes.
For sure, yeah. But something we like to say too is quality time rarely happens on accident, right? And so this is especially after having our baby Ember, it's wow, finding a date night or quality time, you got to be intentional about it.
So are you doing those?
True knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been married for
Twins.
13 years
Nice.
this
Yeah.
August.
Right on.
11-year-old twin boys. We've had 3 date nights. No,
Yeah.
it's been a few more than that. But I mean, we always say
Yes.
Yeah.
once a month.
Right.
We look back 6 months later, wow, we've gone 6 months and haven't had one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
are you
See?
doing that? Are you booking every
Yeah,
month we're going to have 1 or 2?
Yeah,
Date
so
nights?
we try to do 2 a month. So bi-weekly is very intentional. But every week we don't really have our night picked. We work for ourselves. We work from home. We're able to be a little bit flexible. But once a week we try to find that time to get together. And usually, sometimes it ends up being our marriage journal on Sunday night.
Yeah. And every Sunday we take a Sabbath, so we don't work, don't get on social media. We're not on our phones. We actually take a break, and that's I think been
yeah.
a very life-giving thing for our marriage. In a sense, it's like a day date. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just a day
All
off for
day,
us
we
to
literally
just
just
be
do whatever we
intentional.
want.
And
That's good.
so
Put our
that's
phones
been
away.
Well, you have these old school values, both of you. I can tell that, but at the same time, doing what you do and being who you are, you
Yeah.
have to be active on that darn social
I
media.
know.
Yeah.
I know.
So how do you tackle that, Audrey? I mean,
You
you've got a
guys
lot
have
of
huge
followers, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Almost 1 million. I mean, what are you, 937, right?
It's something
We were
crazy,
just
yeah. I don't
Yeah.
How do you do
Yeah.
that? How do you live in this very much today world with those old school values?
Great question.
Thank you. I'm a professional, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I try to be the same person that I am in that space as I am in real life, and
Yeah.
I think we do a pretty good job of doing that. I think Jeremy's really kept us grounded in that, and just the way that he was raised.
Thank you, babe.
He grew up in that environment. Like, they didn't have social media when the show first started, but he still was growing up in the public eye and learned to handle that
Intentional.
space well. And so I think that's been just
And also
great.
understanding what it is. Social media is extremely powerful to convey your message, but it's as powerful as it is, can be
You gotta have
damaging.
boundaries for it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
anything.
because it can just
you know?
take over. And
Yeah.
I think honesty is really just kind of the core value there.
Do you guys have any questions for Jeremy or Audrey? I think we have they have the Instagram page up here.
Yeah, there we go.
Where was that picture from?
Yeah.
You guys remember?
We were in Nashville.
That was Nashville at a Embassy Suite, I think. yeah. So
That was last week.
that was just last
You're
week.
a photographer. You went to school for that.
Yeah,
How many?
went
You
to
guys
film
have
school.
so many beautiful photos of yourself. Do you
No,
like
it's
set
kind
the
of fun.
timer on your thing?
No,
and,
I mean,
like,
No,
we
we have
work
photographers.
in the space, and so we have all our friends are all photographers, and everyone's kind of, when you're in that space and working online a lot, you just collect images, I guess.
Yeah, you guys have so many cool pictures.
Like we'll go to the beach and we'll be like, hey, you want to come with us, Dawn, or something? And they're like, yeah. Next thing you know, we have.
and you
30
have to take pictures.
Yeah,
of them.
yeah.
I'm going to mention one more time. It's called A Love Letter Life, and you
Yeah.
have two, so people can meet you. We
Yes.
obviously,
Yeah.
Ian and I have the pleasure of
Please
meeting you
come.
here this morning.
Yeah.
But others can meet you at 2 book signings this weekend. The first is today, Friday, 4 p.m. at the Costco in Northeast Portland by Airport Way.
Yep.
The second is tomorrow, Powell's Books. That's the one at the Cedar Hills Crossing. I believe that one's at 2 o'clock tomorrow. What is you've done these book signings all over the country?
Yeah.
What do people
Yeah.
say when they meet you? I mean, do they
Is there
kind
a
of
most popular question? Let me put it that way.
It's been
Yeah.
so cool.
It's
Just
been so
meeting
cool.
people for something that. I mean, the coolest thing for me is just people coming up to us and not mentioning the show at all and being like, I loved the book. I was laughing, crying. I'm married 30 years and I love the book. Or I'm a single girl and I love the book. Or
Yeah,
just people of all different
People have come up,
phases of their love
crying. It's
story
just
and
like,
just
wow.
actually caring about what we are doing now. And that's just so powerful. And
That's been good.
just hearing how the book's impacted people. I mean, as people that wrote a book, that's the thing that you live for,
Yeah,
So it's
because
just
we
so
we
cool.
did write every word. No ghostwriter, no nothing, and so
Yeah, because it switches off between.
it
Yeah.
switches on and off. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I like that. Okay, so let's have some fun with this. So you guys
Yeah.
did long distance
Yeah.
for how many years?
3.
3 years.
Our entire dating
You guys were
relationship.
both
Well,
in
you met,
school.
you met, and 10 days later, you started that long distance relationship.
Well,
Yeah.
That's crazy.
no, we met, and then
2 years of
2.5
friendship.
years I pursued her, trying to get her
Then we started
interested.
dating.
Oh my goodness.
Cultural
Yeah.
standard
Yeah.
of dating.
Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the plot thickens, and then she had a lot of emotional walls up. We go through all that. So did I. But anyways, finally, when I convinced her, oh wow, I love this guy, I want to date him. We started dating. I left for Santa Barbara. She still hadn't told me she loved me. So it was another year of dating.
Wait a minute, you fell in love with him before you started dating. That should be brought up. That in itself is unique. The way you
Wait.
just described it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is unique. I think I was very guarded. I wanted, like you said, the next person that I dated, I wanted to be my future spouse. But also I was willing to have friends, because how are you going to figure out if that
Right,
person
right.
is your future spouse if you don't hang out with them? But we just didn't want the pressure of the dating label. And we also didn't want to so I think that was just,
Well, also
it gave us the space
human
to just be
beings
just
we're relational beings, but we're also delicate. And so I knew I wasn't going to get to Audrey's heart from knocking at the door. She had to let the door open from the inside, and that takes time. That's a process, and that's, I think, what's missing in
Can you
current
believe how mature they are, Drew?
dating.
About this?
I believe I'm very delicate too. You're kind of
I believe I'm-
I am very, I'm very delicate.
We have a question on Facebook from Patty. She
Okay.
says, do you ever plan to come back on the show for an appearance?
Yeah, so I like to say,
we did say this
is the
already.
camera this way?
I think we said this.
There.
Yeah.
If you're ready to pay me. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right?
That's what I would say. I'm sorry.
Well, hey, I like to say we may have quit the show, but we have not quit our family. So, if Jackson's having a birthday party, yeah, we're gonna be at the birthday party, and we're gonna
Yeah,
have. So,
yeah.
we're gonna have our
So, yes.
cameos, our guest appearances, and I mean, our office is at the farm, and they film at the farm, so we're literally there every day with the crew, hanging out. We're just not, I guess, under contract, if you will.
Right.
So.
Okay, good. So what are some tips for dating somebody long distance? I mean, I've had to do it in this business. You move different markets,
Yeah.
and your boyfriend or girlfriend
Yeah.
stays somewhere
Yeah.
else. How did you guys make it work?
Probably just 2 quick things that we would say.
Aside
wanna
from
say 'em?
letters.
Yeah. Well, two
letters?
quick things we learned from long distance
Yeah.
is, first, you got to recognize the type of relationship you're in. You're not in a dating relation. You might be dating them, but you're not going to get out of it what you would a normal relationship. So your expectations have to be completely wiped clean. You have to realize you're 2 friends that talk on the phone, and that's what you're going to get out of
Yeah.
it. Once those expectations are straight,
Some hard truth.
Hard truth.
You
Once
can't
those-
look at the friends around you, though, that are dating and get to do life together
Yeah.
and compare your relationship to theirs,
because the
it just can't be the
comparison
same.
will be the tension and steal all the joy from
Yeah.
your current relationship. Second thing we would say is there has to be an end goal, a light at the end of the tunnel. Otherwise, you're left in this black hole of
so
emotion sucking,
frustrating.
angst.
Yeah.
And so there has to be that end point. Those
We
are
always
two
knew
quick
when we would
points.
see each other next, when we were with each other
Something to
last.
hope- yeah.
Something to hope
Like if
for.
we were together,
Yeah. 'Cause
we always planned the
without
next time
hope-
we'd see each other while
Yeah.
we were together.
Yeah, without hope, I mean, that's a
like-
tough
Yeah.
spot.
Okay.
I have a dating question.
Dating
I have a
question.
dating-related
Drew has a
question.
dating
Chime in,
question.
Drew.
Nothing to do with the show, a dating-related question, because we do have, again, for those just joining us, we have the authors of a New York Times bestseller about dating,
Yes.
A Love Letter to Life, written by Jeremy and Audrey Roloff. So obviously, you're reaching a national audience with the show, with the book.
Yeah.
But you guys have local ties. So best dating spots in the Portland area.
that's
Good
a
question.
one.
Thank you.
Because I loved it. You guys went to Macaroni Grill on your
Yes.
on
Well,
your
it's now
blind date.
Thirsty Lion. It was
Okay,
the
right, I was
Macaroni
gonna
Girl
say,
right there in
yeah.
Tanasbourne.
Okay, yep.
Yep.
Yeah, now
The streets
the
of
Thirsty
Tanasbourne,
Lion.
if you will.
Yes, streets of Tanasbourne, that's right.
So
We're McMinimums.
we love
fans.
McMinimans.
Nice.
And for the
So-
locals,
Which one's your favorite?
Our first date was at Rock Creek. Our first real date,
Okay.
like we were, Jeremy
not,
asked me
not
on a
the
date,
blind
not
date,
the blind date.
first like
Yeah.
real date when I felt like it was an appropriate time to ask her to actually,
Right.
hey, I'm interested in you, want to go on a date?
Yeah.
That was at Rock Creek Tavern, McMinimans,
Yep.
you know, which is our favorite spot, which is also where we wrote half this
We
book.
literally
right?
sat in the same booth and wrote
Yeah.
half this
Oh,
book.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
So that's
do
a
they
good-
know that? Do you think?
Yeah, we
Or
talked
they
to
do?
them.
Okay, cool.
Rock Creek,
Yeah.
they see us in there
Yeah,
all
they
the
see us
time.
in
We're
there.
there all the time.
So
You're here to write more of that book, aren't you?
Yeah.
All right.
Taking all our Wi-Fi and all our
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, and then obviously the one in Forest Grove,
Grand Lodge.
Grand Lodge.
Yes.
That
I've
is
been to
such
I've been to
a
that one.
we take nights like date or you know, get a babysitter and we'll go spend the night there real quick. And
Oh,
it's
that's
just
cool.
hot tub. It's so good. But
I have a prediction for the two of you, and you as well, if you like the McMinimans. In a couple of years, your little girls,
yeah.
they're going to love the Scooby snacks.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
no,
dude.
we love the Scooby snacks.
We love the
You already
Scooby
love it?
snacks.
I get the Scooby snacks like every
Iced
time we
coffee
go.
and Scooby snacks, please.
It's a safe prediction, right?
Or is
They're
it the
so
Scoobs?
good.
The Scoobs. You
They're
gotta.
amazing.
If you're local, you gotta call them the Scoobs.
They're like fried,
Yeah.
just so
Zoinks.
perfect.
Yes.
The Scoobs. Scoob.
Exactly.
We just went to the Kennedy School is kind of by our
Oh,
house,
yeah,
and it
yeah.
has the long
Yeah.
hallways because it used to be a school, and we
Yeah,
let the 19-month-old, she just runs.
It's-
and
Yeah,
runs
she
back,
loves
and
it.
It's carpeted, and if she falls down on her knees, no big
Yes.
deal.
Yeah.
So, and you can have a beer and walk around.
Yep.
Yep.
Totally.
Yep.
And it's awesome.
You guys have the cool ones by where you live. I've just got the plain old one at the bottom of the 205
In the
exit
burbs?
by West Lynn,
Oh,
but they
yeah.
still have the Scooby snacks on the menu. So
Yeah,
That's
nice.
it's a good McMinimans nonetheless.
Yeah.
So those are our two probably like go-to
All
date
right.
nights.
That's
yeah.
cool.
What did you guys were here when we were talking about this story about millennials talking about
Yeah,
money on
yeah.
a first date? This wasn't really kind of flushed out about what they mean about
We're
money.
fleshed out.
Millennials are twice as likely to talk about money-related topics on a first date. 62% of millennials say knowing the person's credit score could impact their interest in a second
That is not dating intentionally.
That is the
Yeah.
That is not dating intentionally.
I've ever heard. I don't know
So-
my
Like,
credit
I
score.
would never even. Why are you asking?
Well, I
And
think
then,
I
like,
think if
would
that
you want to know what the other person, like salary range
Yeah.
of like, okay, what are they making?
I think if
That's
that
like
comes
so
up,
malintent.
Right.
yeah, malintent. If that comes up organically, like I don't see a problem in discussing it. But to go in intentionally, like with
How would that come up organically?
great question.
Hey, I bought a car today.
It's-
Really? What was your credit score?
It probably, it probably shouldn't.
Totally.
If, you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
I
Like
think
it
it's
probably
weird.
shouldn't come up
I think it's
organically.
weird.
Yeah.
That is funny.
But what it does is it proves the kind of individualistic, you know, agenda of our society.
Right.
I think it's like,
Yeah.
what is this going to do for me? How's it going to hurt me? What is this relationship? How can it benefit me or hurt me?
Yeah.
And that's where that question's coming from. I think.
I think though at some point, like we also have had married friends who never talked about money, got married.
And then it's trouble.
Yeah, so I think
trouble.
there has to be a point where like we did talk about like what's our views on spending, debt, giving, saving, investing, like what are our views on that? What did our family teach us about it? Like
Yeah, but
what
that's
are you know, I
not
think
first-
Did
not
you
for
guys split
first
the
date.
check
at
in the
all.
beginning, or did
No,
you
But-
pay?
no.
I paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is not
We're
first
old
date,
school.
in my opinion, material. Like,
Yeah.
Well, Jeremy, I know who your parents are.
Yeah.
Audrey, I'm wondering, I mean, did you get all these relationship values from your parents? Where did you sort of develop all of this in terms of how to handle a relationship the way you are?
A lot from my parents. Yeah, my parents are married 2 years, something like that.
Yeah.
They're amazing, and I think just they raised me really, really well. Super intentional parents.
Okay.
And so, yeah, they're great parents. I also was
Yeah.
really involved in a organization called Young Life. I don't know if you guys
did
are
that,
familiar with it.
yeah.
Yeah. So I had like Young Life leaders that sort of mentored me through high school, and they played a huge part in just, you know, being able to ask them the gray area questions
Right.
that maybe I didn't want to ask my parents, and so they were
Yeah.
great.
Do you ever
I
give
talk
your
about that in
parents
the book.
advice now Because or do you just
That's a
take all
tough
the advice
question,
from them?
Drew. That's a trick question.
Because you guys are smart now about
we
this.
don't give
They-
advice.
her-
to
yeah, her
But my
parents are
parents read our
awesome.
book and loved
Yeah.
it,
And they tell us,
they
like,
tell
you
us
know-
like we learned from you, and
Yeah, they're
But-
great. I love her
Sometimes
parents.
the parents need help, I've learned. Sometimes your parents could use a little help. I think they
I
have
don't-
all the answers.
I just
No,
change
yeah.
the clocks back for my mom and like, do technical stuff.
Yeah.
yes, yes.
But I don't think she would appreciate like relationship
No, yeah,
advice.
we don't. We,
Yeah.
And again,
We
we're
don't
young.
spew that
We
on.
always say on everything we do, like, hey, we're on a journey. If you want to follow us and see what we're learning, you're more than welcome. But
Okay, shout out your guys' Instagram.
we're no experts. We're no nothing.
accounts.
Yeah, we're just our names. Audrey Roloff on Instagram. Jeremy Roloff on Instagram.
Jeremy's page.
Just spelt the way you would imagine.
I have a selfish question for Jeremy.
Yeah.
You are a twin.
Yeah.
I am the father of twins.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I want to be a
Sometimes
father
it
of
is.
twins.
Sometimes it's not so awesome as you describe. No, it's always great, but I'm always asked twins this question. Something I can do for my boys in raising them that is good for a twin. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
something maybe your
Yeah,
parents
what
either
did
did
you
right
do?
or wrong that you go, man, I wish they did
It's a
this
good
differently
question.
as a twin.
That's a really good question. I would say take them out on individual father-son dates.
You're absolutely. I know that one is absolutely true. It's coming up right now in our
Yeah.
home, and that's another thing.
Because
we said,
I don't.
hey,
They're always together.
We didn't do that. Yeah, we didn't do that very much. And looking back, I don't think I really cared. But now it probably would have been. It would have built a stronger bond with my parents individually
Right.
if I went like with my mom to the store instead of like Zach and I to the store.
Because what happens is you can't talk when the twins are together. I can't really have a conversation with them. One is
Yeah.
always jumping over the other. But when
Yeah.
I'm one-on-one, we
Yep.
talk.
Yeah, yeah.
When
Yeah,
it's
good.
one-on-two,
That's cool.
I'm out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An argument starts.
That's really good
and
advice,
all I'm
though.
trying to do is
Yeah.
separate things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you know that one. But that's probably all I would. Only thing that comes to my
That's
my
a great.
noggin.
That confirms what I've already thought. But
Yeah. Good.
It's always good to hear it again.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Separate those boys.
Hey, let's
Yeah.
put up that full screen of, the time. So you guys are at, it's up here.
Starts with the
which I can't
Costco
see.
visit today, 4
Or
o'clock,
Instagram.
4 to
Yeah, you guys
5.
can't see it.
Get there. They're only spending an hour at Costco this afternoon to sign the book. Again, it is called A Love Letter Life. And then tomorrow, you can find Jeremy and Audrey at Powell's Books. That's the Cedar Hill Crossing Powell's Book. They start that book signing at 2 o'clock.
And again, their book is called A Love Letter Life, you guys. This is beautiful. There's photos in here you guys can check out. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you for
so
having
much for
us.
waking up early with
Yeah,
us. You guys
pleasure.
are flying around the country doing this book tour, so we really appreciate you
Yeah,
guys.
thank
guys
for
made
having
it
us.
fun,
This is
so-
fun. Yeah.
Cool.
Good
Thank
deal.
you very much.
All right, that does it for Sunrise Extra. Hey, join us every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Drew's going to be taking over next week because
Ooh, I
I'm
forgot
on
about that.
vacation. Ooh.
That's a heck of a responsibility.
It's easy.
Jessica,
have a
producer, said,
wonderful
"You better not
weekend."
forget."
Bye, you guys. See ya.
Where are you going?